Hello everyone. Happy Little Shop of Horrors month. It's obviously not a real thing, but all throughout this month I'm going to be reviewing things that are related to Little Shop of Horrors. So let's get started. It takes place in downtown Skid Row, information which takes up an entire song in the musical, and the sets during that scene in the movie are very telling of how rundown and terrible a place it is. So what kind of depiction of Skid Row does this movie give us?
My name is Sergeant Joe Fink, working a 24-hour shift out of homicide.
They couldn't afford to film in an actual town. We finally get a real set as we enter Mushnick's flower shop.
I dreamt I dwelt in marble halls with vassals.
Get up from the back!
What do you think this is, a musical? A new customer enters the store and orders a dozen carnations.
Oh, here are your carnations. Wait, I'll wrap them for you.
No, that's all right. I'll leave them here.
But after Seymour, one of the employees, ruins the flowers for the Skid Row dentist, Mr. Mushnick fires him.
You're fired.
Why don't you give him a chance to resurrect himself?
I give him a chance to quit.
Unless he's a Vulcan or can walk on water, I don't want any resurrections. But when Seymour tells Mr. Mushnick that he has a brand new plant and Mr. Mushnick refuses to look at it, the flower-eating customer says he ought to.
Look, I've eaten in flower shops all over the world. And I've noticed that the places that have the most weird and unusual plants do the best business.
See?
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 What is this, a tango?
Ha! I don't get it. Mr. Mushnick agrees to give Seymour a chance to redeem himself if he brings the new plant and the flower eater is impressed by it. So he runs home to get his plant and to see comic relief number 5, his mother. And what's her shtick?
Did you stop at Dr. Mallard's and get the results of my tests?
Yeah, he said there's nothing wrong with you.
She's a hypochondriac. Hilarious.
It looks worse than it did this morning when I went to work.
Well, I hope its special effects are still impressive. They're not. Seymour returns to the shop where, because the plant is so sickly, Mr. Mushnick says if he can't nurse the plant, which he named Audrey Jr. after his co-worker Audrey, back to health, both he and Audrey will be fired.
Don't waste your pity on me, Audrey. I'm not worth it.
Who says you're not?
Everybody.
Yeah, I know. But I think you're a fine figurative of a man.
I don't think that's the word you're looking for.
Don't worry. You're gonna be another Luther Glendale.
Pasadena.
Burbank.
Okay, so there was a botanist named Luther Burbank, and this failed attempt at a joke lists 3 cities in Los Angeles County, California: Pasadena, Glendale, and Burbank. Apparently, Audrey thought that Luther Burbank was named after the city of Burbank, but confused Burbank with Glendale, and... Did they really think this joke would work? I mean, really?
Oh, gee. You opened up just like you do every night at sunset.
I guess clumsy exposition won't make you better. Oh well, it was worth a shot.
Here, let me move this out of your way so you can breathe.
Ow! Ow, 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 ow!
Hey, what happened?
I'd like to know the same thing. How did you cut yourself on the pot of a potted plant? Well, somehow the clay pot stabbed him and the blood got Audrey Jr. to wake up. So Seymour stabs himself in the finger with a safety pin to give the plant his blood. Tastes like tetanus. And when Seymour comes into work the next day...
Seymour!
My boy.
You're the most magnanimous person in the whole world!
You keep using words. I do not think they mean what you think they mean.
Look!
Oh, boy, look at that. It grew. It's almost a foot long.
Isn't it empirical?
Oh, wait a minute, I get it. It's because she's a woman. And this is the 60s. That means she's clueless.
It grows like a cold sore from the lip.
Just in case you weren't disgusted enough by the potential implied sexism. Thankfully, a couple of high school girls enter the shop to look at Audrey Jr. and decide that they can use the flowers in Mushnick's shop for their float in the Rose Bowl parade. But after a bit more discussion, Audrey Jr. begins to look sick again. You know what? I just realized who Seymour reminds me of in this.
You have perhaps an explanation.
No, but if you give me a minute, I'll think of one.
Well, how'd it get broken?
I don't know, it's just one of those things.
One of what things?
One of those broken radio things?
But that night, the plant begins to talk.
Feed me! Feed me!
Now, in what I like to call the movie-cool version, this works a whole lot better because, for one thing, the effects are undeniably superior, so I can actually suspend my disbelief enough to go along with the talking plant. But in this...
More!
In fact, I'm just going to start referring to Audrey Jr. as different, better-looking plant characters. Seymour decides to go for a walk to try and think of a solution to not having enough blood to feed the piranha plant. Along the way, he tosses a rock at a nearby bottle, but the rock ends up hitting a man who pops up at the exact right time to get hit and then falls in front of a moving train, and... Is this just a really bad episode of a cartoon? Because Little Shop already has one of those.
I'm coming at ya like Toon style, so get ready for a funny bone overload at the Little Shop. Yeah, boy!
Don't worry, we'll get to that soon enough. Seymour winds up feeding the corpse to the special edition Sarlacc, and Mushnik stumbles upon the scene. The next day, the Deku Baba is even bigger, and the girls have decided to use it on the float. Where does this plot thread go? Absolutely nowhere, so I'm not going to bring it up again, let's move on. Seymour comes into work with an awful toothache, and Mr. Mushnik asks what kind of plant Cleopatra is.
It's a cross between a butterwort and a Venus flytrap.
Venus flytrap!
Makes sense to me. Butterworts are notorious for their ability to talk. Seymour says that it's only supposed to eat 3 times in its life before it's full grown, and decides it probably won't get any bigger. He also decides to go to the dentist.
All right, Seymour.
Oh, stay away from me.
Seymour.
You're trying to kill me.
A duel! Aha!
Your cavities lie with me, Seymour. So Seymour has killed the dentist in a duel, as if the scenario couldn't get any more over the top.
Oh, yes. I see it is.
Oh yeah, did I forget to mention that Jack Nicholson's in this movie? Well, if you look at most of the posters for this movie, you'd think he's a major character in this film. But he's not. He's just a cameo from a person who wasn't famous yet. It's also not his first motion picture performance, as some of these posters claim. Do your research, people! Stop making me do it for you! Anyway, he comes in to see the dentist, who Seymour must fill in for reasons of death. Because that's what pulling a tooth sounds like. Oh, and that entire scene with the dentist never comes up again. It's only in the movie as a means for Seymour to kill someone else and have another body to feed to the rumor weed. Okay, I've run out of plant-like characters to use, so this is as good a time as any to take a break. We'll return with a part 2 later. Crap! I forgot a Phantom joke.
You will curse the day you did not do all that the Phantom asked of you.
Yeah, that'll do.